I went from a point of like complete nihilism where it's like nothing, like literally nothing matters. There have been many points in my life where you like I guess one of the things is like a lot of people who have heard me talk, they generally hear me talk like not overly favorable in terms of like my relationships with family, because you hear a lot of people who have relationships with family and they're very much like, you should keep that relationship alive as much as you can, whatever. But the only reason I say this is because I remember, I think I was like 6, and I remember this so vividly. I believe I was being driven home from school. It was just after school, being driven home, going down the main road. We're about 5 minutes from home, and I don't even think there was a context to this, but my mom was driving me, and I literally just turned to her and I was basically like, as a 6-year-old, you know what, Mom? You just don't feel like my mom.
Wow, nice.
I believe that triggered her pulling over to the side of the road and literally crying for 45 minutes. But like that in terms like nothing legitimately mattered. And then that evolved in just very briefly, because this can be, mental health can be an entirely different topic that I don't want to get into. But then that kind of evolved into when I was about 10, I started realizing, well, I maybe I just shouldn't say these things. Like, I guess this is what I feel, but I just don't say them. So I just didn't say anything for 14 years after that. So I just kind of kept everything to myself, and everyone just thought I was a dick. Anyway, what I've realized is going from a situation of like complete like disconnect from connection with other human beings, that when you're in such a severe like depression scenario, and you get given antidepressants, like, holy shit, emotions are a really weird thing to deal with. So it got to a point where, like, when I originally took them, I kept using this phrase where it's like, man, it feels like literally my brain is being massaged right now. Like, it felt so good. So I would just usually just like, I used to zone out just because it's like I can just pass time by staring at a wall. I can just get lost in my thoughts. So, you know, and I'm entertained. It's not like I'm bored. And then, so now instead of just zoning out, it's now like, I'm getting zoned out with a massage. This is great. And then now that I've kind of tackled the whole human connection thing, and I think having feelings that most people would have, I've now gone to this really weird thing where it's like, I now think about, not like a lot, but like I have bouts of like intense mortality. So like, and before, just wouldn't even care, didn't even matter to me. Like, oh, life's over at 24, whatever. Like, doesn't, not like I would go out and try to actively like cause that to happen, but if it did happen, like, didn't even bother me. So I guess so I guess first thing, does that ever cross any of your minds? Like you're very young. Die? No, like, you're very young people. Like, does it ever, like, either do you think about it like, does it ever? Yeah. Do you think about it? What are your feelings towards it? Like,
the fact that we're gonna die.
Yeah,
I think about that probably every hour. I'm haunted by that abyss. Holy fuck, that's the worst thing ever. Yeah, no, constantly. I constantly am thinking about that. What about you, Teo?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. I've noticed, like, particularly recently, actually, it's become more and more of a big deal to me. Like when I was younger, I feel like it was maybe a bit similar to you, Tyler, where, you know, I was just kind of in my own world and just kind of processed reality as it came, and it was very objective. I felt very separate from my life experience, and then as I got a bit older, I made deeper connections with friends and family, and, you know, I've been in a long-term relationship for 3 years now, and that's just gotten deeper and deeper. And so now it's like, death would be pretty crazy. It would have a really big impact on my life. You know, if any one of these people passed away, or I actually now feel kind of a responsibility to take care of myself better, so that I don't let other people down by dying stupidly, or so I guess there's been an increase in mattering, like life mattering, as I've gotten older, and I only see that going up for me.
Why do you think that is? Because I kind of personally am kind of thinking, like, me personally, I've been, living this life for so long and developing myself and putting all of this work into it. It would be so sad if anyone, like, literally, I think of, like, I watch murder shows all the time, and I hear about, like, 40-year-old women being murdered or something like that, and I'm like, that's that's awful. Like, 18-year-old people, like, it doesn't matter the age, it's just there's so much, like, even from a scientific perspective, there's so much evolution and everything that's went into it, and then to just cut it so short, it just seems so unfair and so awful to me. So I'm constantly thinking about, like, how and it's so fragile, right? Like, life is so crazy. Like, I was watching some who is this? He's some YouTuber, but he's doing conspiracies. Shane Dawson?
Shane Dawson does a lot of conspiracies.
I was watching Shane Dawson the other day, and they were just like, he was doing some like mortality thing, and like there were these people, it was just like a dash cam video. These people were driving, and a brick came off and like killed this chick in the passenger side. Like, instantly. It had no like sense happening, but within the blink of an eye, you can't even react, and then it's all over. So yeah, I think it's just because, like, it's so sudden and so jarring to have put so much effort, whether it's evolutionary or personal effort or just like anything, to just have it just diluted into nothingness. And I think that's why, to me at least, it's so nonsensical why we have to die. I hate the idea that we have to die. I'm obsessed with it. Like, I think about it all the time, but it blows my mind that that's the necessity of what life is. I don't know.
And it's crazy that like, I'll speak for myself. Like, I've noticed one of the dilemmas I've had, the last 5 to 10 years, is realizing that if I invest in people, like if I start caring about them, then I'm going to be impacted, just reactionarily and deeply, like chronically, by their loss. If they die or if they get seriously hurt or something. And as I've gotten older, I've become more and more inclined to just invest, like just take it on. Yeah, if I lose you, that's going to hurt me, but it's worth it. And it's I don't think I could lay out that process in a few sentences.
Yeah, no, I really agree. Like, even though I'm saying, like, oh, it's inevitable that we're having to die, right? And it's such a heartbreak that there's all this effort into just, essentially, it's pointless. You're going to die anyway, so why put any effort into it? But kind of, it's weird, because to me, it's kind of like, it's contradictory, because I use that as an incentive to try to do more. Like, the fact that we're going to die, we're only here for like 80 years, if you're really fucking lucky. Like, really, really lucky. You see those old people, and I'm so jealous of those old people that I see that are like 80, and I'm like, fuck, I hope I can get there. Because I'm genuinely like, 40 years, that's a long time to just not have a brick hit you while you're driving on the freeway. And shit like that happens all the fucking time. And so it's you're here for such a finite amount of time. So yeah, it's really contradictory the way that I think about it. Kind of like what you're alluding to, is that I use that as the impetus to drive me to do more stuff, rather than just say, well, it doesn't matter, give up on it, right? So it's weird how it's kind of worked into it.
When did your mortality, like your thought of this start? Did you always have it in the back of your head?
Maybe like no, Because I was like, I think kids are usually blissfully unaware of it. Because up until like what 3, you're essentially shielded from death altogether from the world. Like your parents typically,
Hopefully.
like even like your hamster dies and no, it's at a farm, you know, and that's 3 years old.
Right.
3 years old is really, really young. I would say a lot of people are like 5, 7, 8 when they start contemplating the idea of death. Even from like a just functional standpoint, what it is, the cessation of you moving around and doing stuff, but from a metaphorical standpoint, what that actually means to me and the other like people in my life and stuff like that. I think I didn't start talking about or thinking about that deeply until maybe 22, 23 maybe.
Oh, so it's kind of recent.
Yeah, the last 3 or 4 years, yeah.